James, take one. All right, James.
What's up?
How you doing today?
Good.
Go ahead. Let's just get started with telling the people who don't know a little bit about you. Like, what's your name? What do you do? So, just give us a quick little kindergarten introduction.
Man, I wish I knew all the answers to those questions. I'm James Hamilton. I'm just a guy. I play drums. I make music. I guess I mostly, as far as that stuff goes, I call myself a drummer, but I kind of dabble in a little bit of everything. I like to write music. I like to make art generally. And it just so happens that my favorite medium is playing the drums. First and foremost, I am currently only playing drums. I think, yeah. So drums are the only thing I actually have.
You had to think first.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Am I doing more than playing drums?
So I've done so much over the course of my life that I have like played guitar in bands, and I've even like tried to be the singer of a band one time. Drums are my home, but I've done so much that, sometimes I gotta sort through the memories here. So currently, I play in a few different projects. My number one baby is Connie Hash. It's an original project that's born right here. That's me, my buddy Ben, and my buddy Zach, who also records us. It's just drums, bass, and guitar. When we were getting together and we were kind of playing music together and deciding what direction we wanted to go with stuff, one, we're all very inspired politically to like have a voice, to say fuck you to the establishment and fuck you Donald Trump. Not that we explicitly write those things in the lyrics, but that is certainly the sentiment behind a lot of it. And dealing with like personal, emotional struggle, throughout all of this. I actually have another band that's original music that I'm playing in. It's a band with my buddy Josh Andrews. I am playing in his original band called The Nature. And that is me, Josh, Zach again. Now, Zach is from Connie Hash, is now in that band too. My buddy Chasm, and then... Wait, yeah, that's it. Yeah, that's it. I say that hesitantly because some of the songs we've recorded, they have like keys on them, and they have... we had somebody come play sax. So there's like more people sort of involved on the sides in that project, but that's like I don't know what to call it. It's rock music generally, but it's sort of like taking like pop sensibilities of like catchiness, but like putting a little bit of like some musical stank on it. I have Connie Hash, I have The Nature, and I play with these guys with Stop, Drop, Rewind. I don't know if you can see that. This is a pretty cool shirt. Those guys, man, I owe a lot to them because they have been on my side since the beginning. Like when I met those dudes, we just connected. We've just always like had a shared love for each other, and like we agree a lot on like musical sensibilities. They're killer musicians, killer singers, and just good people overall, which is actually kind of the most important part to me. I'm not like officially in the band, but I did used to be. Their like first album, I don't even know if it's still up, but like I did record drums on some of the early stuff. I'm not sure if they have any of that stuff up anymore. Basically, their drummer Andy Sutton, great dude, love Andy. Me and Andy have always gotten along, and we've always sort of had this relationship where we sub in for each other's gigs. Because sometimes you commit to stuff, or maybe sometimes you got a family thing, and it's so awesome to have another musician who can actually like fill your shoes in that scenario, and also someone who you know you're cool with, who isn't gonna like actually try and come in and like swoop your gig from you, is not gonna be like talking shit about you on the side and trying to steal it. So I think me and Andy have this relationship where we've always sort of been like pretty interchangeable as far as that goes. When they go out on the road, they go out, gosh, I don't know. They're probably out 30 weeks of the year. I don't know. They go out a lot. Maybe it's more than that. Maybe it's less. I'm not really sure. I usually do like 2 or 3 runs with them throughout the year. So usually like at the end of summer, sometimes in fall, I'll do a week, 2 weeks with them. We just sort of roam around and I just hop on the gigs where I can. And that's a great experience because I get to see, they're a little bit more established. They have like millions of views on their stuff, and I think they are signed to a label now. I sort of get a privileged position where I get to participate in something operating at that high of a level without really having to like have the same level of commitment as they do, because I'm sort of just filling in. Yeah, I mean, so I'll fill in for those gigs basically when Andy's either busy with other stuff, because he teaches and plays in a million bands, or has family stuff. I'll fill in for him, and we kind of make that part of our story. When we go out, we talk about how I used to be in the band, and we'll talk about how like my struggles with drugs and alcohol and shit sort of separated me from them, and how, you know, just the beautiful nature of time brought us all back together again. Beyond that, I'm 35 years old. You know, I'm just a guy living in the middle of nowhere in Indiana. I work at the steel mill. Pretty typical blue collar job, I guess. Yeah, you know, like I said, I'm just a guy trying to balance the blue collar work with expressing myself artistically. And really my ultimate goal isn't to be famous, isn't to make money. I just want to like enjoy my life and share the love of expression with people.
Oh, okay.
To me, I don't know. That's a good question. I guess art is like an expression of humanity to me, and art usually is like a representation of somebody's struggles, somebody's passion. Art is our way of dealing with like subconscious emotional things. Maybe some of those are deep, maybe some of them are trivial. I think that art serves as like a necessary facet of being human to like sort of purge some stuff out of you. Maybe purge isn't the right word, but like just like to get it out. I think art is it's like humans sharing their experience with each other. Well, I suppose you asked what art is to me. I sort of just tried to define art. But I mean, maybe I'm one of those people that I think like everything is sort of artistic. I mean, the way buildings are designed, the way your car looks, the colors that you choose to wear for the day. You know, like I feel like maybe I have a very generalized definition for like art. But I feel like everyone is a little bit artistic in the way they like express themselves. even if that means you choose like to be modest and like not express yourself. I think even those things are artistic choices. So I don't know. Yeah, I could probably talk about that forever, but why do I choose music as my primary source of art? I suppose that's sort of just the way the cards fell in my life. When I was young, I was always into like drawing and coloring and, you know, sort of creating stuff in that way. And then when I was introduced to music, it just something on a more like, I don't know, almost like spiritual level, I guess, sort of just clicked with me about how I could express myself through music. I was just better at it. So it seemed more appealing to me than like drawing or visual arts or, I don't know, what other kind of art forms are there? What else would we consider art? Like making movies or something like that. Like, you know, I never had the resources to do any of that. So I chose music because it was the most visceral, real thing that I connected with. And the music that was coming out when I was young really was the most powerful form of art in my life, as silly as it is now. Like bands like Korn, when I was like 10, 11 years old and I was kind of a little angsty preteen, that stuff connected with me so much that I knew that that was like the artistic form of expression that I wanted to do. Like, yeah, I wanted to get out some of my angsty teenage feelings with music.
So you kind of wanted to, like, you saw Korn on TV or you listened to their music and you're like, I want to do that.
Yeah, actually, really Korn, and I mean, Korn was like one of the first big inspirations for me, but even before that, my mom used to always play like Stevie Wonder and Michael Jackson and stuff like that, and I always loved that. We would just like dance in the kitchen and stuff, and something about that, like music, I mean, all forms of art can do this, but music is so great at expressing different types of emotion. There's like stuff like that I connect with, like happiness and shared connection. And then, you know, as like life got harder and I kind of experienced more shit, heavier forms of music started to connect with me. And even like rap and hip hop really started to connect with me. And I think you could certainly argue this, but I think you'd be hard pressed to find people nowadays that aren't more entertained by music and video than just like, well, I guess I don't have anything up, but then just like paintings and stuff. So not to say that those things are like antiquated, because I do still love those, but I think that there's just something so much more modern and visceral about the emotional connection you can have with music and video and stuff like that. Different approaches to when I practice that I do, like depending on what my goal is, right? Like, so if my goal is to learn a new song, then I'll approach that by first starting off like just listening to the song. And probably I have silly garbage up here now. So, okay, let's say that I just got a tune from the guys that I want to work on or whatever. Oh, of course, this is going to erase terribly. So, how I prepare for something totally depends on what it is, right? Like, So usually I'll start with the simplest part that might be easy to overlook is basically listening to the song. Are you covering something? Are there already drums that exist? Am I coming up with something original? You need to know the context of those things. Let's just say we were doing a cover. I don't know. Let's just say you were learning like, I can't even think of a good song. Everybody wants to rule the world. There you go. Pronounce that 5 times fast. Like basically, and I kind of forget how the song goes, but I'll sit down and I'll listen to it. I'll do like, okay, is there an intro? Like, what's the structure of the song? Is it then basically like verse, chorus, verse, bridge, chorus? I mean, you know, something like that's pretty typical. Or maybe like verse, chorus, bridge, chorus, you know, like any variation of this. So the first step is always understanding like what is actually required from you as the drummer in the band. So if I was going to sit down and learn a song, I'd actually just listen to it first and break it up into these pieces. And then before I ever really learn what the specific drums actually are, I give myself like an idea of the function they're serving first. So let's say, and I mean, this will be a terrible example because I kind of forget how this song goes. I think the drums are basically the same the entire time. But let's say they weren't. So maybe for the intro, there's no drums, right? So now I have to stylistically choose, like, do I also play no drums? Or maybe I do a little bit of, you know, some like frilly stuff. And then let's say it's just like a hi-hat beat or something like that, something really steady. You know, like I'll do this and I'll go through and then I'll be like, okay, ride halftime. You know, this obviously no longer this song, but like, let's say that's what it was. I go through first, and before I even like learn the specific patterns or whatever, I sort of give myself an idea of what the actual like parts sound like. But that's just for me when I come down to actually learn the song, so that I sort of know what to expect, even if I don't have the exact notes yet, so that I'm just like getting a feel for like the movement of it. So the first part will have no drums, and then I'll come in and I'll do my hi-hat beat, you know, just being regular time, and then, well, I know when the chorus is. So that's like an easy way, even without like getting into writing all of it down, that you would initially come up with like your direction, I guess. So like for a cover tune, you can sit there and do that. If it's something original, then it's a totally different process. Then you have to make these decisions on your own, like what feels appropriate and what doesn't for a certain section. Like, do I want something to have no drums? Do I want it to come in with blazing drums? And I would basically just do the same thing. And obviously, as you actually go through it, it gets more specific and complex, but yeah.
Okay.
Visual aids. I would say, yeah, I like, that's why I have the whiteboard here. I have the rudiments, I have the chords and stuff. Like, because I just like to have the visual aid. And so obviously this is a very barbaric version, but I would eventually like work this out to maybe show like what chord changes are happening or specific lyrics that we kind of want to like highlight and what we're thinking about. Whatever it is, I'll have this up there to like help guide me before I actually have anything specific. And I already forgot what like the actual question was, but what made me want to pursue drums? Nothing, to be honest. I didn't want to play drums. I actually started off playing guitar when I was 10. My mom got me a guitar for Christmas, and that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to be a guitarist. I wanted to shred. I kind of wanted to be in the spotlight, per se. My ability as a guitarist, like I am pretty decent guitarist. I can play, and I know like music theory decently enough that I could get by. It wasn't until I started playing with other people that I realized everybody was playing guitar, And that's just how it was where I was growing up and playing, being in the circles of people I was. Nobody was playing drums. So my facility on the drum set was sort of born out of necessity because I was playing, I think when I was 13, I joined a death metal band called Corpse. Corpse, very original name there. I was playing the guitar, and basically we were like 5 dudes who all played guitar, but like kind of just played other instruments to make it work. And I quickly realized that like, even though I was good at guitar, there were other people who were better than me or like just as good as me. So when we would hang out and jam and mess around, or like whoever was the drummer didn't show up, I would hop on the kit. And there was just something like super intuitive about it to me. When I sat down at the kit, I was able to have like a certain level of articulation that just felt natural, that I think people were like, oh, like you're good at this actually, like you should this is what you should do. I guess as soon as I picked up the drumsticks, I just kind of never looked back, and that was like my main focus.
Yeah. Should we take a little time to talk about your hair?
You can ask me about my hair if you want. Yeah.
Quick 30 seconds. Yeah. Tell me about your hair.
So the hair is my whole personality. It's who I am. The hair actually, honestly, is weirdly a big part of my story, though, I feel like, because when I was like 14, I got dreadlocks for the first time, directly inspired by Korn. I loved that shit. I wanted the big, fat, nasty dreadlocks. I was really into like Slipknot and stuff like that. So as in addition to like playing the music as a form of expression, I've always expressed myself like with my look, with my what do the kids call it? My Riz. Sure, my we'll go with Riz. I like that. My fit. Yeah. You know, I'm always trying to get my fit on point. So like the hair has always been a big part of that, because as you can see, I got this crazy curly hair. So I hated it when I was young. I wanted to knot it up and do the dreadlocks. And I actually did that 2 different times. And I feel like it's weird because when you have long hair, you have dreadlocks, it does sort of become part of who you are and like a way people recognize you. Whether or not you like it, they're going to make certain associations with those stylistic choices. Having dreadlocks means people make a lot of assumptions about you. So, you know, I go with the normal hair these days because I feel like it's a happy medium. I'd look weird with short hair, I think. Heavy music speaking to me more at an early age definitely was born out of like my emotional struggles, being like a young boy in the middle of nowhere, more or less, and not really knowing who I am or what I wanted to do with myself. I guess I could probably directly connect it back to my dad wasn't really around until later on in my life. So I had my mom, my wonderful, lovely mother. She held down the fort. She was king and queen. She killed it. So I guess I saw that, and she was like working all the time. So she would work like 16-hour shifts every day. And basically I'd be home alone with my older brother and older sister, whom I love very much. But when we were growing up, we're more like bullies than like good, protective brother and sister. I love them very much, and we've since, sort of worked all that out. But I think I was experiencing a lot of, I don't know, I felt tortured. There was like a lot of, like, I didn't have a dad. My mom was always working. My brother and sister were kind of mean to me. I didn't feel very connected at school with the other kids. Even though like I am social and I'm like pretty friendly and like get along with everybody, I always felt like a disconnect between me and most other people, because I would say where I grew up, the predominant thing that you were into was sports. Everybody loved sports. Everybody loved football, baseball. At Couts, the big thing was basketball. Everyone was very like athletic and into the sports thing. And that was just, I don't know, there's just nothing about that I connect with. Even still to this day, I can barely name you a single sports team. I guess even being inundated with all of that when I was young, you'd think like maybe I would start to enjoy some of that, but almost I feel like I used it as like fodder to like have something to be against. Like I was a little bit edgy, I guess, maybe not in the greatest way. Like I suppose I look back and I feel like it was a little bit cringe. Like maybe I was a little bit like too like agnostic, atheistic sort of in my approach to things. But that was like part of my identity. That's like having no dad, having sort of mean siblings, like all these things culminating in me just feeling like frustrated, like not really having an outlet to appropriately express those things. I actually found two things, probably around the age of 10. I discovered Korn, and then I discovered Eminem. And both of those seem to embody and really express like the frustration that I was feeling, that, like, okay, someone else gets that life sucks, and that was what I connected with. And there's a lot of that in metal. There's also a lot of that in rap and rock and stuff too, I think. But initially, yeah, definitely the heavy metal, black metal, death metal, that kind of stuff is so fast and angry that it sort of got some of that energy out. And then the hip hop and stuff had the like words and the I don't know, yeah, like I guess like the lyrical content that I was looking for to help me express some of that frustration. So definitely like early Eminem and Korn sort of brought me into music. I think anybody who likes metal, even maybe people who don't like metal, like when you listen to it, there's just like a well of emotion that comes up, and it's like some of it's kind of anger, but it's like almost feels like positive anger. I don't know. I have a hard time like expressing what that is. I could put on Slipknot now and I still feel that feeling. And whatever that was gave me like relief from the inner turmoil I was feeling at the time.
Tell me about the hardest challenge you've ever had to overcome in your life.
Wow. The hardest challenge I've ever had to overcome in my life. I mean, I guess there's like a lot of different ways I could take that. You don't necessarily mean specifically musically. Well, I guess there's a few things that come to mind. I don't know if saying that this was something to overcome, but definitely like becoming a father was like very pivotal moment in my life that also connected to what probably is the biggest thing I've had to overcome, which was being a severe drug addict. So that was definitely the toughest thing I've had to overcome in my life. And those things sort of like work synergistically, right? Like I had my kid, I was still I was smoking crack and shooting heroin. Like that just wasn't gonna work for my lifestyle anymore. Not that I ever wanted to really be doing those things in the first place anyways, but that's sort of where I ended up. Having my son Ziggy was sort of like this pivotal moment where it was like, oh, okay, like I'm responsible for someone else now. I can't just continue to do this. I got arrested a few times or whatever, and then I got offered the drug court. Like I did a program through drug court where basically like they offer to expunge your sentence in exchange for like submitting to regular drug tests and like going to all these meetings and doing like community outreach sort of stuff. And that actually seemed to be enough for me to overcome it. I say that like it was easy. Like I struggled with drug addiction for 12, 13 years or something like that, just like ripping apart my life the entire time. I guess when it came time, I knew I was ready, and that I actually have to say that's probably one of the few things I can thank the judicial system for in Indiana, is like having that drug court as an option, because that was enough to set me straight. And being held accountable like that for so long, it's like, well, once you're off drugs for 2 years or whatever, and then the program's over, it's like, it'd be pretty dumb to go back, like you're already through the toughest part. You're through the physical withdrawal. You're through the majority of the mental part. I mean, that still comes and goes. That's just the nature of the beast. But I think that was definitely the hardest thing I've ever had to overcome in my life. Like, because the ripples of that are still sort of apparent today. Like, there's stuff I have to be careful of now. Like, I don't really drink. I don't really I don't partake in any like recreational drug use. So that has changed my life, and I sort of have to be careful about the company I keep. Not that I like necessarily even don't associate with people if they do drugs, but certainly if they're like trying to get me to do that, that's a problem. And then there's also like the positive ripples though too, where I started doing drugs. Gosh, I was probably like 11 years old when I like smoked weed for the first time. So I had been doing drugs for the majority of my life. Like, that was sort of the only version of myself I knew. Was like, how do I say this? Let me say it this way. So I started using drugs from like maybe like 10, 11. I smoked weed for the first time, and then like was drinking alcohol by 14, 15. I was addicted to pills and drinking booze before school because I thought these things were like giving me access to like a fun, cooler part of myself. That's like the justification that you use. When you grow up sort of thinking you need substances to be liked, to be accepted, and then you grow up basically until I was like 27, I think is when I finally got off everything. I mean, that's like from 11 to 27, that's the whole time your brain is developing. Your frontal cortex is not even there yet. And I sort of developed this like negative self-identity of like, well, I'm not good enough, I'm not handsome enough, I'm not charming enough, whatever. And that, oh, the drugs, the booze, they all get me there. And the positive side of like coming out of that is that you realize like actually all of that stuff is really holding you back. You have all those good things without that. And not only that, those things are just like blocking you from like actually accessing the full potential of who you are. I feel like since I've gotten off of stuff, I feel like more clear-headed, and I feel a little bit more directional with what I choose to do. I'm not like struggling and scrambling to do everything or taking gigs just for the money because I need to get my next hit. Like, it's like I can be a little bit more intentional with my life. I can be a little bit more structured with my life. It's sort of like, I would say it like kind of grounded me.
What do you like to do on the drum? So what do you enjoy?
Oh, what do I enjoy just playing by myself?
Yeah.
So it's actually kind of built into my structure. I do like my warm-ups, and then whatever kind of technique thing maybe I'm working on, and then I'll work on like writing or learning cover tunes. And then I always, at the end of my session, it's silly, I literally just go on YouTube and I look up drumless tracks, drumless songs or whatever. And I love to play to like things that are in weird time signatures. And there you go. There's one that pops up that I've actually already played to. And it's like, basically I just put this on and then I just jam to it. So after I've already done all my actual goals for the day, I have like my little reward at the end. I think it works best to like set it up that way. But I'll literally just listen to this and just like... whatever, just jam to whatever it is I'm listening to. My experience with the music industry is very limited. Like, I've never been in a band that was like signed to some big label or really ever done anything with any like commercial success. I mean, I guess like the Stop, Drop, Rewind stuff is probably like, they have stuff on the internet with like millions of views or whatever. I'm not even their drummer now, so like they're, you know, very peripherally related. I don't know, as far as like the industry itself goes, I don't really know much about like the business side. I've always had, I would say, like positive experiences with the rest of the community, like other musicians and booking agents and stuff like that. I generally, in this area, I feel like people are pretty helpful and like want to stay connected, and I think people usually mean well. There's some sketchy people out there, but for the most part, I think if you're just putting yourself out there and making a product, if you're making art that you like, the business side of stuff doesn't really concern me so much. Maybe that's a bit naive. That being said, I mean, as I said, I work at a steel mill, so I don't make my money from music. Music is just something that I need to do. Like, music is something from inside of me that needs to happen. And then as far as my experiences playing out and like touring and stuff like that, I would say, again, it's not much connection to like concrete music industry stuff. Like, it's all been DIY. Even when I go out with the Stop Drop guys, we're still operating on a DIY level. I mean, this is like, we're doing all the booking, we're calling around the country to different places, setting up gigs and meeting the different bands that we play with and trying to like connect with them to get like, you know, like where the happening spots are, where good venues are. It's really it's still one of the few sides of the industry, at least as far as how I operate, that is still like it used to be. You know, a lot of things change as time goes on, like the way we record and write and all of that is like drastically different than when I started. But as far as like booking gigs and getting gigs and whatever, that hasn't really changed that much. It's still all about like who you know, who you connect with, who likes you. that stuff actually does matter. You don't necessarily have to be the best player in the room to get the gig. You know, sometimes there's other things that matter more. And I guess like, yeah, like in my experience, everything that I've done has been very like DIY level.
So you appreciate the more underground like music movement, the more
definitely
DIY. Yeah.
The underground stuff, I mean, that's kind of where it all starts, right? Like, I mean, unless a band or artist is like straight up industry plant, like everybody sort of had to work their way up from the catacombs of underground music. So I feel like it's a space to like be authentic and be yourself and not really worry too much about what everyone's gonna think or how your album's gonna be perceived or how your artwork is gonna be perceived, because there's just like more niche outlets. Like, people are looking for you to just like be yourself, I would say. Maybe that's true on the big stage too, but what do I think the underground or DIY scene needs right now? That's so hard to answer because there's so many people trying to do so many different things in like the DIY scene. I mean, basically to some extent, everybody's sort of operating on a DIY level. I guess I would just say like maybe more visibility. Like, I wish that there was more documentation happening of like things that go on at a smaller level, because I think even just from like a historical analytical perspective, it's just interesting to keep track of that stuff. I mean, these are how trends and changes in music evolve. Like, as time goes on, like local bands are the ones setting the trends. Even though they might sound similar, it's like with each new band comes a little bit new variable with the music and the style, and that's how genres and trends are pushed forward in my opinion. And so the DIY underground scene is like the ground zero for where that stuff is taking place. If I were to say that it needs anything, it's like it needs you. It needs more people. It needs you guys to come on in and check out a show, even if it's at like some local church and it, like costs $5 to get in or whatever. Like, people need to go. They need to check that out, because you just should gauge where your local artists are at. Do you like what they're doing? Do you not like what they're doing? Is it something that inspires you? Or maybe it inspires you to do something like what they're doing. Maybe it inspires you to do the opposite. It's important to like sort of be in touch with that. As we come into an age where everything is available at our fingertips, we have YouTube and Facebook and Instagram and TikTok, blah, blah, blah. All of these things were so oversaturated with everything coming in from everywhere that it's sort of one of those things where it feels like a grounding experience to go back to like local stuff and actually go check out a show, go there physically in person, see what's happening, see what the bands are playing and what kind of merch they're selling. And I don't know, I think it's just so interesting. I think that feels more valuable than just like sort of scrolling through a news feed. I don't support local music as much as I should. And that being said, like I do go to a lot of shows and I do meet a lot of people and I go to the jam nights and stuff like that. But I mean, we're all struggling. We all have jobs. Most of the musicians you meet or know, they will not be making all of their money from music for the most part. Some of them like teach and play in 1,000 bands and whatever, and they might be purely making their money from music. But I think most musicians, until you get to a certain level, are all also just regular people. They have day jobs, they have kids, they got a mortgage, they got a car payment, they might be addicted to drugs, they might have family members that are addicted to drugs. My point in bringing all of that up is to say that like it'd be really easy to judge people like, oh yeah, like people need to show up more. But also, life is hard. And especially like we have a fucking piece of shit in the White House who makes everything harder. So people are struggling and I'm never gonna like judge them if either emotionally or financially that stops them from being more present in the scene. Do I think music or art in general has to be inherently political? Yes.
Why?
I think everything is political. The clothes you wear were made somewhere by slave labor, maybe. The phone we're filming this on was made by slave labor, probably. You can pretend like you are apolitical, but I don't believe that's a real thing. Everything is political because everything has political implications. I think music is more obviously political than that. I think most of the like big movements in music have either been grounded on like social issues or like, you know, justice issues and stuff like that. Like, you know, like obviously like blues and stuff like that, very political, comes from like the struggles of black people to win their independence, their civil rights, you know. And I think that like traditionally speaking, like folk music has been like pretty anti-establishment. Country music, the original country music, not fucking Keith Urban and whoever else, but original country music was like outlaw shit, was like, you know, anti-establishment, anti-government. Punk rock, I would say most rock in general, hell, most metal, even though that's kind of changing. There's a lot of chuds in metal now. I don't understand that. But metal originally was like a new offshoot of punk that sort of was always also political. Like, I mean, very directly. A lot of the old band's lyrics are directly like, fuck the government, maybe more focused on like the social issues. But even if your music isn't outright political, there are still political implications with it. Even if you choose to say nothing about what's going on, especially like what's going on now, choosing to say nothing is still a stance, right? Do I believe AI art should be art? I suppose I would need you to clarify the question in like, what are you referring to specifically? Like visual art, audio art?
Throwing it back at me. Ooh, now I get to be interviewed. Let's see here. Are there forms of AI art that you don't consider art, and what is your criteria to consider it to be art?
So my criteria to consider something art and how you could juxtapose that with AI art is that I don't really believe that generative AI equates to art. That being said, I think that AI does have its benefits. I guess I would say if you're using like a generative AI program to just come up with an image, I don't really consider that art, because as I talked about earlier, art sort of comes from human struggle, human emotions. Maybe it doesn't have to be struggle, but I think struggle is probably the most common motivator for people to actually make art. But like emotions, happiness, sadness, more complex ones, horniness, whatever. Those things are the, inciting incidents for the creation of art and what inspire you. So I don't understand how a machine spitting out ones and zeros has any inspiration, has any like incitement to create something. AI has nothing to say. It doesn't have an opinion. It doesn't have an actual voice. So I don't understand. I guess there's a disconnect for me where, sure, I could listen to AI music or look at a piece of visual art that's made by AI, but I already know that there's nothing behind it. Maybe you could make AI music that sounds good or AI art that looks cool, but it's still gonna be like a 1 out of 10 in my filter, because I feel like I need something a little bit more human to connect with, even if I don't understand what that thing is. Are there legitimate ways of implementing AI to create art? I would be a hypocrite to say no. I use AI every single day. I think that AI is a great tool. And I struggle with this opinion a little bit, because you have like Suno, I think that's what it's called, that like sort of creates songs and stuff like that. And yeah, you give it a little prompt and it'll sort of like make something like what you wanted. It doesn't do enough like specifics for me to be satisfied with it. That being said, I'm sure that the technology will one day get to a point where it's actually super useful tool. But I guess that's sort of where I draw the line, is I don't think that the AI generative algorithm should be the end all be all start and finish of your thing. If you use it as a component or as like an informing mechanism, then that's totally different to me. It's still, I suppose I still have like some moral objections, despite using it myself, on like AI sucking up all our water and shit like that. That's obviously fucking terrible. But I think as far as AI goes, the cat's out of the bag and you're not getting that back in. It's too convenient. It's too prevalent. We're basically hedging our entire economic future on it at this point. So, I mean, yeah, that AI is not going anywhere. So I think that as time moves on, artists are going to have to be smarter about how we use it, how open we are about the fact that we use it, because people don't like to be lied to about this. This is a big issue for a lot of people. And I think that it's sort of just reconciling the difference of like using an AI tool to create something, but still making sure it has like a human imprint. The stuff that I use for AI is basically, I don't use AI in a generative way. There's this program called Moises. Whatever song you put into it, it analyzes it and, I don't know, recreates it with AI or something. And then you have the ability to like take the drums out, take the vocals out, take the guitar out, or, whatever, do that. So what I do is I use Moises to take a song I want to practice or learn or whatever, and I'll take the drums out, and then that's how I can use my iPad and my EAD10 to like do little videos of me playing to it, and it's like I have the song but without drums, and now I can put mine in there. I think that stuff like that, it's a super useful tool and has positively impacted my ability to practice and write like immensely. I would say the combination of the EAD recording device that I have for my kit, my iPad, and Moises, the AI program, are the 3 greatest tools that I've put in my arsenal for music in the last 10 years. So AI certainly has its place, especially considering we're not getting rid of it. I mean, you could do everything the old school way and that's fine and that's cool, but I'm not gonna knock anybody for using AI to like help them edit stuff, or maybe to like, even in the writing process, like you could use like the scale finder programs and stuff like that, where it can like make suggestions about like, oh, like if this is what you're playing, like consider going here. Like there's stuff like that that I think you could use, and I don't think that's like egregious. There's no big like foul there, in my opinion, because you're just using it as a tool. But the problems come in when you basically don't have any real artistic ability or musical functionality to actually express what you want to express. So you're just typing a prompt into Suno and it's coming up with basically an entire song on its own. I feel like I don't even understand how that satisfies you as an artist. I don't even understand, like, because that's not you. You didn't choose the chords, you didn't choose the beat, you didn't choose the tones. That I guess I just don't understand that. And that's where that doesn't feel like art to me.
When you play with your various projects, will you guys just like jam together with no real direction, and maybe you like find something in that jam where you're like, oh, wait a minute, that can be something we can like focus on or accentuate, or I like that chord progression you did there, we could do something with that? Or is it like a conversation beforehand, like, hey, I wrote this thing and I want to see what we could do with it?
As far as like how we write stuff and where the inspiration comes from, it's not always necessarily like impromptu. I would say actually probably the majority of the time, the ideas that we play aren't grown out of like impromptu jams, although those are great to do. And actually we did just write a song last week based on like a little jam we did. But I would say the majority of the time someone has an idea. There's like a little more intent already built in. There'll be oftentimes like a lyrical idea that's already present, like what is the subject matter that this piece is going to like actually, try to approach, and like what's the tonality of the instruments. Sometimes like before I know the specifics of the drum part or whatever, I think it's more important to understand like the tone of the song, like are the drums big and loud, or do they kind of sound like they're in the other room, or are they like really tight and like I like kind of high pitch frequencies. There's so many ways to take that will inform the direction I choose to take with the writing, like with the writing of the drum parts. Because I don't know if you can get a shot of this, but the EAD here, this is actually like a one spot microphone. It just, literally just hangs out. It's great. Yeah, it attaches to the bass drum here. It triggers the bass drum and then it records everything else from these mics up here. And it's actually been probably the single greatest tool I've gotten as far as like helping myself, not just as a drummer, but like as someone who writes parts and stuff, because what it now gives me the ability to do is like very crudely sort of record my ideas. And basically what I do is, oh shoot, I don't know, is the tablet not in there?
Tablet right here.
Oh yeah, hook me up with the tab. Yeah, so I use the tablet, and really, I mean, it's pretty simple. It just hooks into the EAD here, and then it's serving as like, I don't know, what would you call that? Like an interface or something.
Yeah.
This tool, Moises. So I'll show you like both examples of like things I might do. One would be like learning a song that already has drums. I'll use this example of Hey Stranger. I actually played the drums on this song. It's through the headphones, but you can hear it, right? So, full song with the drums and everything. And then, I mean, that is me playing, but I'll take it out. And now I just have the tune with no drums. So, this will be the way that I generally learn stuff. I'll listen to it and internalize it and do the process we talked about earlier where I sort of like write down what the parts are. I'll have that up and then I'll literally just play along to this with no drums in there. And the best part is I can record myself too. I can go to the Yamaha app here, if that'll load. I seem to be having issues with all of it today. But basically what it'll do is it uses the camera from the iPad and the audio from this to sync to whatever like song you run through it. That way I can like make videos of myself playing the tunes or like ideas even, and have an objective perspective, like actually see what I was playing and doing in real time rather than just trying to like kind of rely on how I think it went. So then the other, that's like to learn stuff. I guess it's the same way when writing stuff more or less, but more so I don't know if I have any loaded up here, but my buddy Ben will just send me ideas. You know, they'll be, and he edits in like little drum parts. So I learn those, right? I'll play along with it with the drums and then I'll take them out. And then sometimes I'll take like multiple ideas. Like I might have like 3 or 4 ideas for one part and I'll record me playing all 3 or 4 of those ideas, send them to the boys and see what they think. So I've noticed that like since this kind of technology has come into my life, it's a lot easier to like collaborate and like communicate, I guess, like quickly, because I came from a time when you had to get together to actually like express these ideas, or I mean, I guess you could like try and call and leave each other voicemails or something, but you know, you actually had to like get together, and I feel like it took up more time. So we can sort of like, I can have all these ideas and send them to you, and you could be like, oh, actually like part C was sick, you know, or whatever. And then I know, okay, like that's gonna, once again, that'll inform my decision moving forward. He likes this sort of style for the song, so let me develop that. I mean, I guess that's it, really. That's like the only way I use this, but it's just, it's insane how much more I can get done now having this at my disposal than band life was in the past. What advice would I give to anyone too afraid to start their musical journey? So, I mean, I guess it depends what part of the process scares you. The creation or just putting it out there to the world. I think that, you know, if you're feeling a little scared, a little nervous about it, there's something that you have to keep in mind, which is that people are shitty. You will have haters no matter what. You could be the greatest band of all time and you're gonna have haters. So if that's something that's discouraging you, I'm sorry, that's just the way it is. That being said, you could potentially have just as many or more people that love what you do. And I guess it's all about like, you know, how much your drive to get that out in the world is actually pushing you to, you know, deal with the cringier parts of you know, like having somebody be like, this sucks, or whatever type of shit people want to talk. There's no point in being scared. You got one life. We got one voice, you know? One life. Yeah. So you just got to put your shit out there, because you never know. You really never know who it will connect with or how many people it will connect with. And even if it's nobody, I still would argue that that's not a loss. You're still contributing to the historical database of human artistic expression. Like you're still a part of something. Even if everybody else hates what you do and nobody buys your shit, I still think that it's worth it for you to put stuff out there in the world, because the more the merrier.
That's sick.
That was funny.
I wish you could hear the funk song that's happening right now. Maybe I should have just chosen the funk song. Shit.
That was dope.